Imagine this career path for a second. You are just catapulted to global fame.
Mm-hmm.
You become the most successful contestant your show has ever seen, and you instantly get that, that undeniable viral main character energy.
That's the public narrative of Ekin-Su Cülcüloğlu, right?
Yeah.
She won with the most votes ever, got these massive brand deals.
Walked every red carpet with this confidence that just seemed completely effortless.
Yeah.
But when you actually take a deep dive into the interviews she's given, I mean, we've got everything from Varsity talking about her college days to Women's Health, where she just dissects her training, you realize that effortless confidence is, well, it's a bit of a facade.
It was forged in crisis. It's structured by this really intense data-driven discipline, and it's all focused on internal strength.
Exactly. We are analyzing these sources today because the real secret to her success isn't what she looks like, it's why she exercises.
We've pulled together interviews, fitness analysis, even public reaction commentary to really pull apart the system she's built for resilience.
So our mission is to figure out how she created this blueprint for strengths that kind of intentionally ignores all that external validation and aesthetic pressure.
Yeah, that's the core of it.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We have to start, I think, not with the recent glamour, but with the backstory, the painful stuff. It seems like the origin point for everything else.
It really does. I mean, how does someone who radiates such powerful self-presence, how does that person end up describing a childhood that was defined by vulnerability?
It's hard to reconcile, isn't it? Her current public image, it just doesn't line up with the reality that this confidence was not something she was born with.
Not at all. The sources make it so clear that it was manufactured. It was a necessary coping mechanism.
She talks so candidly about being really badly bullied as a child. And the way she describes one specific incident, I mean, it just shows you just how formative it was.
One in the field.
Yeah. She was invited out, basically lured by classmates, and then they threw a bottle of urine on her and pushed her down a hill.
It's a deeply cruel thing for a child to go through.
It's traumatic. And what's so psychologically fascinating is what happens next. That's the pivot point.
Right, because most people would internalize that kind of social trauma. They'd shrink away.
But she consciously framed it as the beginning of her strength. She even says, it traumatized me, but it made me strong. It made me who I am today.
So it became a resource, something she could draw on.
I think at first, though, she maybe misdiagnosed what strength looked like. Her first attempt was to channel that drive into seeking external validation.
Beauty pageants.
Exactly. Competing to be strong.
Yeah.
What did she learn from that?
Well, she learned pretty quickly that the whole aesthetic world was, frankly, toxic and just not sustainable.
She saw some really extreme stuff.
Oh, yeah. Extreme dieting. And she talks about one time hearing someone purging their food right before going on stage. That was a huge moment for her.
A definitive moment where she just rejected the whole idea that your value comes from external beauty.
So she adopts this philosophy, looks fade, beauty is on the inside.
And it sounds like a cliche, right?
Yeah.
But she actually backs it up with a really specific definition of confidence.
She does. She says her confidence didn't change with the scale.
Yeah. She specifically said she was as body confident at size 16 as I was at size 6.
That's incredible. She completely decoupled confidence from any kind of physical measurement. For her, it's purely internal. It's about how you accept who you are.
That distinction is so critical because it means her drive is always coming from within. It's never relying on outside metrics.
Exactly. And that reframing, that's the key. That internal drive is so powerful, it dictates her whole gym routine, even overriding something like sleep.
Which brings us to her core philosophy on fitness. But wait till you hear what came next. We're going to talk about what time of day Ekin-Su says she must work out, why skipping it pretty much guarantees a miserable day.
The biggest takeaway from all her interviews is that her primary reason for training so intensely has, well, nothing to do with aesthetics.
Nothing at all.
For her, training is, and this is her term, a psychological prescription. She flat out says that if she doesn't get a workout done, her mental health will go.
And that's a massive paradigm shift for most people listening, right? We usually frame exercise as this difficult chore you should do for vanity or whatever.
And for health optimization.
Right. But she frames it as a non-negotiable mental health tool. It's a promise she makes to herself just to avoid feeling bad.
And that commitment, it leads to this incredible consistency. She describes the feeling after a workout, especially after intense cardio, with this language of huge psychological payoff.
She said it's almost like a drug.
Yeah, that it leads her to feel like she can rule the world. utterly capable.
So the goal isn't to get something positive like a six-pack. It's to avoid a negative, the emotional low.
That is a much more powerful driver for sticking with it.
For sure.
I mean, intrinsically motivated behavior, especially when it's avoidance motivation, is statistically the most powerful predictor of long-term success in demanding routines.
So the reward is just stabilizing her mental state.
Exactly. And that forces her to prioritize exercise above, convenience. She says she has to fit it in consistently, even admitting she'll train if it's 3 a.m., because if she skips it, she knows she'll feel crap the next day.
The logistics of that alone are kind of fascinating. She makes sure she has gym access everywhere she goes, treating that workout like it's as essential as breathing.
And that level of commitment means the exercise has to be effective. It has to be sustainable, which is where her blueprint shifts from the psychological side into hard science.
Right. It's not just about running around to feel good.
No. Her whole regimen is technically aligned with scientifically validated principles of hypertrophy training.
That's what's so crucial. We're not talking about feel-good sessions anymore. So what are the hard, structured principles she's using to maximize her results and support that mental health drive? Is it just random lifting?
No, not at all. It is structured science built for what we call functional hypertrophy. So this means high training frequency, which she gets through organized splits, like a 4-day upper-lower split.
Which makes sure each muscle group gets stimulated multiple times a week. That's optimal for growth.
Right. And then you look at the specific volume and intensity, and you can see this balance between seeking strength and seeking size.
We see the heavy compound lifts in there. Things
Yeah.
like squats, Romanian deadlifts. Those are programmed for mechanical tension, right? High weight, lower reps.
Exactly. Typically 3 sets of 6 to 8 repetitions. That lower rep range is all about lifting heavy, recruiting the maximum number of muscle fibers.
And then she moves into that, classical hypertrophy zone.
The mid-range volume, usually 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps for more isolation-type movements, incline dumbbell press, lat pull-downs, that kind of thing. It balances that tension with sustained time under the load for muscle repair.
Okay, but here's where it gets really detailed. The monitoring. Her team uses advanced in-body scanning to track her progress, and it goes way beyond a traditional bathroom scale.
And this is, for you, the learner, this is really the aha moment about precise tracking.
Mm-hmm.
If you're pushing yourself this hard, how do you actually know if you're gaining true muscle and not just, water weight or inflammation? They use 2 key metrics.
Let's break those down because they sound super technical. First one is dry lean mass, DLM.
DLM is the definitive indicator of quality gains. So what it does is it measures the weight of just the protein and mineral content in your body. It specifically excludes water.
So if your DLM goes up,
It is a verifiable, definitive sign that you have achieved true muscle accretion. That's the biological goal. It just filters out all the noise from, being more or less hydrated on any given day.
okay. And the second metric is all about preventing burnout, which would obviously derail her mental health goals. It's the ECW-TBW ratio. Explain that one.
So the ECW-TBW ratio measures extracellular water, that's water outside your cells, so blood, lymph, inflammatory fluid, to total body water.
So it's like your body's systemic inflammation warning light.
That's a perfect way to put it. If you're acutely inflamed or dehydrated or just severely overtrained, your extracellular water shoots up.
And what's the takeaway from that number? What do you do with it?
Well, if that ratio goes above the general guideline, which is around 0.390, it's a critical warning sign. It's your body basically screaming, hey, I am systemically overloaded. Do not train intensely today.
So it's an objective feedback loop?
Precisely. It allows for immediate, intelligent adjustments to recovery or training volume. That's how you sustain a high-intensity plan long-term without, a physical or psychological collapse.
And that technical structure can only be sustained if the fuel strategy is also solid. And here again, her philosophy comes from a pretty significant negative personal experience.
It does. Her anti-restriction stance today is rooted in those early pageant days, seeing all the toxic behavior. But she also had her own personal disaster with it as a student.
She talks about the apple green diet.
Oh, yeah.
She tried to survive on just 1 apple per meal. So 3 apples for the entire day. And just water.
The side effects she described were, shocking, and they really illustrate the danger of that kind of restriction.
She was talking about severe physical reactions like breaking out and losing hair.
And the psychological toll was just as bad. She said she was always angry and restless. It's just proof that the body and mind cannot function on deprivation.
So that disaster basically cemented her belief in balance. It's what allows her training to be sustainable.
Now, she champions this approach that is, balanced and realistic. She says it explicitly. Carbs are fine, chocolate is fine, having a drink is fine. It's all about balance.
The goal is consistent fuel, not perfect asceticism.
Right. And what's interesting is, while she rejects fad diets, her successful regimen is still very much tied to foundational nutrition, especially protein.
Absolute. To build muscle and increase that DLM we talked about, consistent protein intake is non-negotiable.
And the sources confirm she focuses on that. The general recommendation is to aim for, 25 to 40 grams of quality protein per meal every 2 to 4 hours or so.
Supports muscle repair and synthesis.
And on supplements, she does use things like protein powder and creatine, but we need to put that in context.
Right. It's not a magic bullet.
Not at all. The expert consensus is clear. They're effective, yes, but they are supportive tools. They're for people whose diet and training are already consistent and dialed in.
Supplements reinforce a good plan. They don't fix a bad one.
Exactly. Her using them successfully is just another sign of how dedicated she is to the entire system.
If you're finding this blueprint for sustainable fitness useful, make sure you're subscribed to the deep dive. We're about to pivot into how she handles the pressure of fame and how she actually weaponizes public opinion to maintain this inner strength.
So as we look at her career after Love Island, the sources detail the immediate turbulence.
The contracts were huge. Oh, Polly, Beauty Works. But some weren't renewed.
And that led to a really predictable pattern of online negativity, an obsession, really, in some corners of the internet with just wanting to see her fail.
The public scrutiny was just relentless.
Yeah, the commentary really highlights that tendency in celebrity culture, doesn't it? To build women up to these impossible standards just so we can eagerly watch them fall.
And this is where she leans completely into that authentic strength, the strength she forged through her childhood trauma.
She's actively trying to distance herself from that high-pressure influencer world. She's pivoting to what she actually wants to do, which is acting.
Right. She said she wants to focus on playing roles and quirky characters.
And part of that shift back to authenticity involved physically reversing some of the work she'd had done during her peak influencer phase.
She dissolved most of her facial fillers.
Yeah, kept only her lips. Her boyfriend, Davide, joked that she looked like a footballer's wife from Miami before the change.
But the shift wasn't about pleasing him. It was about aligning her external image with that internal confidence.
It's a move from that temporary idea of perfection back to, longevity.
And her simple aesthetic routine reflects that. She maintains that filter-free glow through internal stuff diet, hydration, exercise, and one non-negotiable external thing.
Factor 50 SPF daily.
Mandatory. It's an investment in the long game of health, not a quick fix.
But the most resilient part of this whole blueprint, the final piece of this analysis, is her unique way of dealing with all the hatred.
Her cognitive framing mechanism, it's wild.
She doesn't ignore the criticism, she actively reads it, specifically Daily Mail comments. She uses it as reverse psychology to feel stronger.
It's a remarkable psychological immunity technique. She literally takes external hostility and instantly converts it into an internal psychological resource.
Yeah, a mechanism that feeds that core confidence that she forged in childhood. She said it herself. The more negative stuff I see about myself in the press, the more I want to be confident.
She finds power in their expectation that she'll fail. She turns their toxicity into her own personal fuel.
So this blueprint, at the end of the day, it defines true strength not by the physical muscle she built, but by the mental fortitude to sustain it, to convert criticism into a resource.
The most powerful transformation is the one that's sustainable, the one that's driven from within. So to just quickly recap the Ekin-Su blueprint for you, resilience is built from trauma. It's channeled into a confidence that has nothing to do with size or appearance.
Training is a non-negotiable mental health prescription, and it's used to avoid negative states.
Physical change is driven by science. Structured hypertrophy training, monitored by advanced metrics like DLM and the ECW-TBW ratio.
And authenticity is the final, non-negotiable aesthetic goal, which she maintains by using all that criticism as fuel.
This whole deep dive really provides a potent model for sustainability.
It does. And the data she uses, especially that ECW-TBW ratio, it's specifically designed to prevent systemic stress and burnout. So this raises a really important question for you, the learner. How might focusing on preventing internal stress and on measuring physical sustainability, rather than just chasing external aesthetic results, how might that fundamentally reshape your fitness goals and your commitment to being consistent.
You've been listening to The Deep Dive, where my co-host and I uncover the stories shaping pop culture, fitness, and celebrity success. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.